I don't see there is such a thing as failure. There's winning and there's learning. My buddy of mine, Jeffrey Gittimer, said, you know, there should be a prequel to Good to Great, and it's called to Okay. Money as a magnifier of who you are as a person. My formula for success is dream, goal, learn, plan, action. Jim Rohn said, never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and read a book a week for the rest of your life. A billion's not actually as hard as most people make it out to be. It's X times Y. So Brad, my first question is, how do you define success? What's your definition of the word success? Well, hey, Brad, thanks for having me on the show. You know, my definition of success really comes back to the word fulfillment. You know, ultimately, success is not one area or two areas. It's not just financial. It's not just relational. It's fulfillment in all areas. I've often said that money as a magnifier, or even success or fame as a magnifier of who you are as a person. If you're a great person, you get a lot of money, you become an amazing person. If you're a jerk and you get a lot of fame, you become an amazing jerk type thing, you know. But ultimately, success to me is about me being the best version of me possible. How do I become the best Brad there is? If I become the best version of me, that is the fittest version of me, the best relationship version of me, the best friend version of me, the best business person that I can be, if I build me to be the best version of me, that to me is success. I think it's too easy to try and define success as being successful in one area. If you're successful as something, that doesn't make you a success as a person. And I look at having financial success, and I think how important it is that it's no use having a suite at a concert and no friends to go with you sort of thing. There's no use going to a football game by yourself. I mean, you can, but I'd still prefer to go with friends and family type thing. And so that fulfillment and being the best version of me possible is really how I would define success. So take me back then. When did you choose success? What time in your life did that happen? You know, I'm pretty clear on when I chose success. Thanks, Brad, for asking. About 13 years of age. Well, not about, it was 13. And what happened was my family, we moved from Darwin in Australia to Adelaide in Australia. And I'm going to age myself a little bit. The cool thing at the time was Levi's 501 jeans. And my mom didn't believe in cool. She believed in what we could afford. And what we could afford was corduroy jeans from Kmart. There was 3 of us boys, so that's what we got, blue corduroys. And I don't know if you've ever worn corduroy pants, but when you're walking, they make a funny sound when your legs rub together. And of course, 13-year-old boy, I'm a lanky kid, new kid to school. I end up getting picked on by some kid. We end up having a fight. I beat the snot out of the kid, and I end up in the principal's office. And of course, mom gets called in, and the principal yells at me, mom yells at me. Anyway, long story short, we get home, and it's you know, wait till your father gets home type thing. And I remember cutting up those corduroy jeans. I found mom's shears from her sewing cabinet and cut them up, and thought to myself at the time, I will always, I will never not have enough money to buy what I want. And I remember that's when I chose to be successful around the wealth and money. I think as a younger boy, I chose success around school. And that might be just because of the way I fit in with my family. You know, my older brother was always the one who was good with his hands. My parents always said that he could fix anything. And it was like, Brad's the good at school one. And it's kind of like, I guess that gave me some definition around it type thing. I did learn later on, though, Jim Rohn. I went and met with Jim Rohn. I was 16 years of age. I just won the Rotary Youth Leadership Award in my area. I gave a speech at the Rotary Club, and I was on the debate team, so I was pretty good at speaking. And the Rotary Club then gave me an award, the Ryler Award. Me and my best buddy Glenn both won from our district. And we got sent away for a week-long training on leadership and success. And when it comes to being 16 and being taught leadership and success, that was a big thing. So I got to reading and studying and learning, and Jim Rohn was coming to Brisbane. I was 16. I bought tickets to the Brisbane City Town Hall. I went and watched Mr. Rohn, and he said 3 things to me that stood out, and I think that was where I really started to change. I think at 13, I chose to not be a failure, if that makes sense. But at 16, I chose to be a success. Jim Rohn said, never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. He said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And he said to me, when I went down to him at the end of the event to get my notes signed, he said to me, son, because I asked him, so what's one thing I can do to be successful in life? He said, simple, read a book a week for the rest of your life. Now, he'd already said that in the seminar, but it was more concrete to me because he said it to me face to face. And so I started doing that. I started reading, and I read a book a week, and I continue to, well, now with Audible, I have books read to me every week. On my kids and my team wonder how I can listen because I listen on 2 times speed. But ultimately, that led me to change my goals, to think about, instead of negative goals like getting out of a negative, not ever having enough money, to having positive goals of wanting to achieve something rather than wanting to not achieve it. So, Brad, take me through your formula then. What is your formula for success? Oh, my formula for success. I teach this in my 30X life, but ultimately my formula for success is dream, goal, learn, plan, action. You got to start with dreams, big dreams. The bigger, the better. When I first started dreaming, I guess it was back when I met Mr. Rohn, I started dreaming, and I wrote down one goal of, I built in my mind a whole set of dreams, but one of them was to retire financially early. Because Mr. Rohn said it, he said, retirement's not a function of age, it's a function of income. And if you've got money that comes in, whether you get out of bed or not, you can be retired. You don't have to be old to retire, you just have to have enough finances to retire. And so I set that goal at age 25. Now, the interesting thing was, my buddy's dad told me how it couldn't happen. And technically he was right. The 16-year-old version of me could not make that happen. I had to grow into my goal. When you set a goal, you have to grow into it. And hence the dream, goal, then learn, then plan, then act. There's no use setting a goal and thinking you can achieve it with current knowledge. The fact that you've had to set it as a goal means you don't have the knowledge to achieve it. So I had to go about learning and growing into my goals and becoming the type of person that could achieve those goals rather than thinking that I could achieve them just because I set them. I see too many people learning this thing of, yeah, just set your goals and just think big. No, you've got to, it's dream, think big, goal, get clear on what the goal is, set it with specifics, okay, SMART test it, specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented with a time frame, then turn it into learning. If I set the goal of doubling my wealth, I've got to read a bunch of books on wealth. If I set the goal of being a millionaire, then I've got to read a bunch of books on being a millionaire. If I set a goal of running a marathon, I've got to read books, watch podcasts, listen to, you name it. I've got to do that. I've got to train. I got to get a coach. I got to join a club maybe. I got to change my diet. I got to change the way I think. You want new goals, you got to do those things. And a marathon's just, I guess, a good way of using an illustration of the formula for success. Dream, goal, learn, then write the plan. If I'm going to run a marathon, I want an eating plan. I want a training plan. I want to, you know what I mean? You can't double your income without doing a plan. You can't double your marketing results without doing a plan of some sort. So it's really important we do that. And then we take action. Too many people skip a step or skip 2 or 3 steps in the formula and wonder why it doesn't work. But I guess I would add to that formula another formula called be times do equals have. Be, do, have. Your dreams and goals are what you want to have. Your learning, plan, and action is what you got to do. but there's still who you've got to become. You know, do you need to become, and I use be because it's like the B words, behaviors, become, beliefs, all of these B words that describe you as a human being, okay? So maybe you need to become a better leader, or become more confident, or become a stronger speaker, or become, you know, who do you need to be in order to have those things? So yeah, dream, goal, learn, plan, act, be, do, have, probably the two formulas for success. Well, what's the relationship then between failure and success? Can failure teach success? Oh, failure and success. You know, Brad, thanks for asking. Failure, I'm not sure I believe there is such a thing as failure. I believe there's such a thing as learning, okay? And there's test and measure. Something that didn't work was just a test, and we measured it, and it didn't get the result. Now, I guess there is such a thing as failure in certain areas in life, but the failure isn't final unless it's death, I guess. Failure is just a stepping stone, a mistake. I'd rather use the word mistake or error, or, you know, we measured and it didn't work. It was an experiment. We tried things. We played with stuff. It's like AI right now. I'm not an expert in AI, but I'm playing with a lot of platforms. There's a lot of platforms I'm getting very, very good at. I'm not good enough to teach it, but I'm very good at using it type thing. So I guess there's that balancing act of that. But, you know, when you come to a big decision, you're going to have two emotions. You're going to have fear and excitement. If you keep thinking of failure, you're going to let fear win all the time. If you keep thinking of experiment, test, measure, try something else, you're going to get excited about it. Hey, there's another thing to try, another thing to test, another thing for us to give a shot. You know, that's ultimately what we're looking at in most cases of that. You're on the Big Success Podcast with Brad Sugars. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to talk about business, marketing, and wealth.
Getting rich is a lot simpler than most people realize. Billionaire in Training by Brad Sugars puts you on the fast track to wealth creation through buying, building, and selling businesses, and doing it at a faster pace than you ever thought possible. Pick up your copy of Billionaire in Training today.
And we're back on the Big Success Podcast. We've got the amazing guest, Brad Sugars. He's here to talk to you about business, success, and wealth. Brad, what is the key to success in business? Yeah, so success in business for me is always got to be about profitability. Ultimately, it's not about sales. It's not about number of customers. It's about the bottom line profit. A business that doesn't have profit, a business that doesn't have money in the bank cannot go on. So let's first of all make sure we understand what business success is. Now, to succeed in business, there's really two things you got to do: get customers and keep customers. You got to get them, you got to keep them. Now, building a great team is part of getting them and keeping them. Doing great marketing is part of getting them and keeping them. Building a great sales team, part of getting them and keeping them. But really what business success is about today is get customers, keep customers. You know, business is the process of buying profitable lifetime customers. How do you get them to keep coming back over and over again? The model of your business is a part of that. And that's why I wrote Pulling Profits Out of a Hat. I want to look at the modeling of a business and the strategy and the leverage in that business. And if I come back to success in business, I guess leverage is a big part of it. Do the work once, get paid forever. How do you get a customer once that keeps coming back? Is it a membership or a subscription-based business where the repeat purchase rate is extraordinarily high? Getting a new customer costs a lot of money. Keeping them is a lot cheaper than getting new ones, sort of thing. So, yeah, that's probably how I'd succeed in business. So then sales. How do you succeed at sales? Sales, look, sales is really a process of, I define selling as professionally helping people to buy, answering people's questions. Now, a lot of sales used to be the salesperson had to have all the knowledge and give all the knowledge to the customer. In this day and age, I believe a customer, well, there's two statistics. One is about 40% of customers don't want to talk to a salesperson before they make a purchase, right? And the second is about people want to be about 70% sold before they connect to a company. So they're going to do their research online. They're going to look up, they're going to read, watch videos, and all of that sort of stuff. Google put out a thing about the for 7-Eleven that people want to actually learn about, and I can do a whole other video on that subject, but people want to learn and binge watch or binge read enough information to be prepared before they talk to a salesperson. So one of the keys to success at sales today is to let videos, ebooks, blog articles do a lot of the selling for you. Even if they've already connected with you, allowing them to watch more videos or read more ebooks or do that sort of stuff helps the person make their buying decision. Remember, we're not selling, we're professionally helping them to buy. People love buying, they hate being sold type thing. And so a lot of professional selling today is about build rapport, understand the customer's needs, make the sale is a very small part of it, and follow-up is a very big part of professionally selling today. But I don't think sales has changed in a lot of ways in that it is a lot of questioning. Questions are a massive part of sales. If you're doing all the talking, you're not selling. If you're questioning and listening to them, you're professionally helping them to make a purchase decision. They're talking it through. As you question them, they're thinking through what they want to buy, what they don't want to buy, and how they want to buy it, and all of those sorts of things. And Brad, when we look at marketing then, how do you define marketing, or how do we succeed at marketing? Marketing is an interesting subject. See, marketing is, and I touched on it earlier, marketing by my definition is the buying of profitable lifetime customers, okay? So how do we buy customers? Again, that's why I wrote the book called Buying Customers. But in essence, if I put out $1,000 in a marketing campaign and I get 10 new customers, it costs me $100 to buy each of the new customers type thing. So that's in essence what we're aiming to do, is to buy customers at a price that is then profitable, because if we spend $10 to get a customer and we get $20 back in profit, it's really not a spend, it's an invest. We're investing in marketing. Another thing in marketing, this book, Raise Your Hand Marketing. I wrote that book because marketing today is a lot about farming. It's about getting people to raise their hand by, download this ebook or connect with this or get this free video or do something so they'll connect on the newsletter. But giving people an opportunity to raise their hand and say, hey, yes, I'm interested. They'll attend a webinar. They'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. They'll do something. They'll book a call. They'll fill in a questionnaire. All of these things lead to people raising their hand and starting a conversation. Now, of course, we want to get their phone number because we want to be able to call them. Okay, we want them to book in for a phone call, so we want to be able to speak to them and do... Because marketing doesn't work without sales, and sales doesn't work without marketing. They have to go hand in hand. They're like twins. Marketing has to find them, get them to raise their hand, and sales then has to convert them and bring them on to paying customers type thing. Well, Brad, what about management? How do you succeed in management in business? Management. Yeah, management to me is two things, and my ActionCOACH team actually do a full management training programs for companies, leadership training, all that stuff. But management is about competency and productivity. If you have an employee, you need to build competency in them. You need to build productivity into those people, and that's why you got to mentor them, coach them, educate them, train them. And that's what people say to me, I don't want to be a micromanager. That's not true. There are times when micromanagement is necessary. A brand new employee needs micromanagement. They need people looking over their shoulder to build competency. But the second thing you got to build as a manager is productivity. If there's a lack of productivity, there's a lack of management or just poor management in many cases. If we want productivity, the people have got to know what is their job. There's got to be measures put in place. There's got to be planning done, goals and planning and knowledge and training. I see people, they say they're delegating, but really they're abdicating. For delegation to happen, there's got to be a system, there's got to be training, and there's got to be a measure in place. So the reporting has to happen as well. I think that's a really important aspect of management. Competency and productivity is what management has to build. And I know somewhere along the line, management became a dirty word, but really, I think management is probably one of the most important aspects of execution out there in growing a great business. So, Brad, leadership. What are the keys to success in leadership for business people? Yeah, thanks, Brad. Leadership. Leadership to me is where management's about competency and productivity. Leadership is about passion and focus. A great leader brings passion out of their people. A great leader brings excitement out of their people. They hire, they recruit for passion and excitement as a big part of what they're looking for. And also they bring focus. There's goals set. There's clear delineation. There's a vision. This is where we're going. This is what we're aiming to achieve. No one can kick a goal if they don't know where the goalposts are. So the leader's job is to keep people focused on where we're going, focused on what we need to achieve, focused on our growth, focused on the future, and also passionate about all of those things. So great leaders are great communicators. Great leaders are great congratulators. They say thank you. They say well done. You know, those are the things that make a great leader. So to succeed in leadership today, I think is no different than it's ever been before. Passion and focus. Now, that's a bit different when you look at different generations. I know for me as a Gen Xer, you know, if you're leading a baby boomer, you've almost just got to say, hey, go do this, and they work it all out. If I'm leading a Gen X, I've got or even a Gen Y, the millennials. Well, millennials should be known as Gen YWHY. They want to know why we're doing it. There has to be meaning in things. There has to be a heart. That's why I talk about mission in scalable businesses, where there's a love for the work they do, or a love by the customers of the business they're doing business with type thing. So, but yeah, leadership, definitely about passion, definitely about focus. So, Brad, success in systematizing a business. You always talk about systemization. How do we make that a success? Systemization seems to be, well, it's a lot easier than most people make it out to be. I like understanding that systems are really two main things: videos and checklists. Now, there's supporting documentation that goes with it, but a great checklist is a great system, okay? I wrote the book that takes you through the 9 steps to systemization, my instant systems. But I think it's really important to understand that if you've got great checklists and you've got great video, people can copy that type thing. They can learn from it, follow it, and do that. And really, that's what we're trying to do with a system. As you know, a system stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. But we're trying to make things so that they work, okay, so that they are consistency in the business. And that's what checklists and videos bring about, a lot of that stuff. What about team building then? What are the keys to being successful at building a great team? Team building, to me, team building is actually not as complex, again, as most people make it out to be. In my book, I talk about the 6 keys to a winning team, or you can do it in my 30X business. But really, team building is about bringing people together. In my business, Engage and Grow, where we deal with employee engagement, we're very clear on the fact that heart-centered leadership is needed. We're very clear on the fact that how we bring people together, how we engage people, is a big part of what team building is. And it's hard to build team if people don't know each other. If people don't get to know each other, it's hard for them to be a team. And so a lot of that is human interaction, but also it's just having them spend time together outside of just doing the work environment, having them break bread, having them sit with each other, doing those things is a very important aspect to it as well. Well, Brad, what about wealth? Is there a secret to success, or is there a strategy for success in wealth? Oh, wealth, that's a whole big subject. I've written a bunch of books on this, my 30X wealth program. I think wealth is, if we boil wealth down, the best definition I ever got of wealth is the ability to live a number of days forward. And that means at your current lifestyle, how many days can you live into the future if you stopped working today? Like with passive income, how many days forward can you live? Now, the key to wealth is no more complex than make it, invest it, live off of the returns. Don't buy toys out of what you make. Buy toys out of the returns of your investments. I think that's possibly the thing. But also, If you want to be a master of money, you got to study money. You can't expect to build wealth without understanding wealth, without knowing what wealth is. You got to invest in businesses. You got to invest in real estate. You got to invest in the stock market. They're the three main core investment categories. And if you invest in those three, then, you're doing well out of life type thing. But again, knowledge is a big part of it. If I was to say, what's the first thing you should invest in, it would be more knowledge. I find that wealth building is about two things. It's about having a niche and having a set of rules. If I know what niche I'm investing in, meaning I only invest in 2-bedroom apartments that I can turn into 3-bedroom apartments, or I only invest in 4-bed, 3-bath homes on large lots that eventually I can knock down and put up a set of apartments on, knowing your niche. The second is a set of rules. I will buy it if it meets these criteria. If these are the things, then I'm not buying it. If these things are present, then I will buy it type thing. And people say, well, what should my rules be? I put it in all my books, but I also say very clearly that if you don't know enough to write your own set of rules as to what you will invest in and what you won't invest in, then you don't know enough to be investing your life savings. So, Brad, what about life success? What is your formula? What's the method for success in life? How do we succeed at life? I go back to those two core formulas, dream, goal, learn, plan, act, and be, do, have. I think succeeding at life is about relationships, though. How many friends you got? How well do you get along with people? I think a big part of it is that. But being an all-rounder, you don't have to be a brilliant sports person, but you have to do exercise. You don't have to be an amazing dietitian, but you have to eat well. You have to get some sun. You don't have to go to everything, but you have to go to enjoyable events. I guess building relationships is probably the key to success at life. You're on the Big Success Podcast. We're going to be back in a moment with our guest, Bradsugars, and we're going to talk about growing your business massive. How do we scale up? How do we level up?
In 30 minutes a day for 30 days, 30X Business will take you through the exact hard-won business principles that Bradsugars has personally developed over the past 30 years as an entrepreneur, investor, and business advisor. Join Brad and his team and 100 other entrepreneurs who want to start building a successful business today.
And we're back, the Big Success Podcast. Bradsugars, I have to ask you this question. How does someone level up? Okay, so leveling up, it's really interesting. You probably know the book Good to Great, right? Well, my buddy of mine, Jeffrey Gittimer, said, there should be a prequel to Good to Great, and it's called Shit to Okay. And I always thought, if you get into a certain situation, sometimes you just got to get to okay. Then you got to get from okay to good. Now, if we're going to talk leveling up, shit to okay is leveling up, okay? Well, I'll deal with the level called good to great. Let's assume you've already got to good. How do you get to go to great? I think allowing yourself to dream is the biggest part of it. There's someone who is at good. You've heard the statement, good is the enemy of great. Well, being at good can often hold you back because it's like, you know what, I'm comfortable. And I sort of talk about it as being fat and happy. I see a lot of people who get fat and happy, not physically fat, but, they've got enough. They don't want to push any further. You know what, Brad, this is good. I'm okay. I think those who level up are those who challenge themselves to be a world champion or challenge themselves to be number one in their industry or challenge themselves to go for it. And it doesn't take much more than challenging yourself. I think too many people get scared or fear the failure type thing. And as we discussed earlier, I don't see there is such a thing as failure. There's winning and there's learning. You either win or you learn. And so I think that's a big part of the success factor in life. So, Brad, what's the difference then in scaling a business versus growing a business? So in business, scaling versus growing, that's why I wrote, in fact, if I can just pull it up here, I got one over here. I wrote this book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat with Monty. What we looked at is the difference between a business that grows and a business that scales. And we found 5 core disciplines in the two. The discipline of strategy, of people, of execution, of mission, and of business development. They're the 5 core disciplines. So read the book and go through it in detail, or watch any of my other videos on the subject. But in essence, what happens is that there is a consistent growth factor. They're called disciplines for a reason. It's not something that you do once and it's done. We've got to keep growing, keep changing, keep adding, keep getting better, keep getting better. But I think that, a business that grows has a percentage-based mindset, and a business that scales has a multiplied mindset type thing. I know within ActionCOACH, and actually in that book there, The Business Coach, we talk about our 6-step formula, okay? And the first 4 steps are the first 4 recipe areas of growing your business: the mastery, niche, or mastery, marketing, systems, and team. When you get through mastery, marketing, systems, and team, you get that base structure set up. And I'll give you an example. If you went and built a great restaurant and you did the mastery, the marketing, and you did the systems, and you did the team building, and you got a great restaurant, do you keep it in just one location, or do you Ray Kroc it? And by Ray Kroc, I mean, watch the movie The Founder. But, he found this great little business that the McDonald brothers had built, and he said, I'm going to take this and put it on every single street corner. If I find a great business, I want to scale it. I want to put it on every street corner, or in every country, or in every city. I want to scale that thing. How many ways can I take that one business and put it in 1 million locations? It might be 1,000 locations, it might be 100, but that's the idea behind it. How can I open the business in? I was challenging someone the other day, and I said, how do you open your business in India? And they're like, I don't know how to open a business in India. And I said, that's my point. Someone who's at scale doesn't think of adding one more employee. They think of opening one new office or one new city. In fact, scale might be not one new office. It might be one new country or one new state. It might be, you know what I mean? It's like that massive scale thinking versus that localized thinking. I think that's a big part of it. So, Brad, someone that has goals of like 1 million versus someone that has goals of 1 billion, what's the difference between the two? The billion thinking. I wrote the book Billionaire in Training because I think that there's a big difference between billionaire thinking and millionaire thinking. The millionaire wants to be the CEO of their own business. The billionaire wants to have CEOs running their businesses for them. If I can get that distinction out of the way first. A millionaire creates a good system. A billionaire creates a good system and runs it out 1 million times. Like if I give you an example, Damon John, he learned how to create a clothing label. He didn't just create one. He went and created clothing label after clothing label after clothing label type thing. You don't just do it one time if you want to be a billionaire. You work out how to make money, and then you do it thousands of times. I think that's sort of the big difference. 1 billion is no more than X times Y. If I work out how to have a $4 million construction company in city X, to do 1 billion, I've just got to go, okay, it's $4 million. I can build a $4 million construction company. How many of them do I need to do in order to do $1 billion type thing? I need 250 cities that I'm going to open that in. If I work out how to do a $20 million project, I go, okay, it's $20 million. How many of them do I need? I need 50 of them to do 1 billion. $1 billion's not actually as hard as most people make it out to be. It's X times Y. It's $1 million shop done 1,000 times. It's a $10 million business done 100 times. That's essentially the way you look at 1 billion, okay? So, Brad, on to the quick fire round. Quick questions, quick answers. Number 1, how do you succeed at relationships? Relationships. Time, energy, effort, listen, make the other person more important than you. And how do you succeed at health? Health. Time, energy, and effort, and you must just allocate the time to health. You can't not. You have to have the water, you have to have the sun, you have to have the vitamins, you have to have the good eating. You just have to do the exercise. There's no other way around it. Allocate time. And what about wealth? How do you succeed at wealth? Wealth, look at life as people, money, things. People are most important. Money is second most important. Things are third most important. Don't put things ahead of money or things ahead of people, and don't put money ahead of people type thing. People, money, things. How about fun? Enjoying yourself. How do you succeed at that? Fun? I got to say schedule it. I know that seems weird, but book in trips. Book in going to concerts. It's a little bit longer answer, but what we do is I buy season tickets to things or a suite at an arena, and therefore you've got things you have to go to because you've already paid for it type thing. I think that's important. And invite everybody. A friend of mine, Charles Vogel, said it really clearly. He said, Brad, invitations matter. Sending an email blast out to people is not an invitation, you know, and he was teaching actually at my kid's school. And the school was like, but we email everyone about these events and no one comes. I said, yeah, you email them. You don't invite them. An invitation is something where you actually care if they show up. You know, if I'm having a dinner party with 12 people, I'll call everyone or text them personally to invite them. If I'm having a party where we're doing roasting a whole pig or smoking a whole pig and inviting 500 people, there's no personal invitations. Invitations matter. Vacations. How do we succeed at vacations? How do you succeed at vacations? Again, pre-book it. We have a membership to a thing called Exclusive Resorts, and we have 40 nights a year that we have pre-booked that we need to be on vacation as a family. Self-development. How do we succeed at self-development? Self-development. Read simple podcasts, videos, you name it. Just keep studying. But work out who do you want to be, too. I go back to that formula. Who do I want to be? Who do I need to be in order to have? Goals. How do you succeed at goals? Achieving and setting, I guess. Goals, write them down. No more complex than that. If they're not written down, they're not really a goal. So, Brad, final question. What's the best quote you ever heard on the subject of success? Oh, I already told you my best quote on success. Jim Rohn, never wish your life were easier, wish that you were better. Best advice I ever got from success? I guess, I keep going back to Jim. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Business doesn't get easier. You got to get better at business. I got to keep getting better. If I want better people on my team, I got to get better. If I want to have great people, I got to become a great leader. Simple as that. Keep learning, keep studying, though, is the biggest thing. You'll never out-earn your learning. You got to learn more if you want to earn more is probably the simplest way to put that. And that's the Big Success Podcast for today. Check the show notes. See you back next week. Let's make sure you keep on building your success. And that's the Big Success Podcast for today. Hopefully you took a lot of notes, learned a whole bunch, and if you need to, go re-listen to it. We dropped a lot of information right there today. Big success is what it's all about. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you're here with us every single week on the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. That's BS. Big success is what we're shooting for. Check the show notes for all the links. Make sure you follow through. Keep learning. Keep coming back. Oh, and by the way, share this with any of your friends who you know are up for success. I'll see you next week on the Big Success Podcast.
You've been listening to the Big Success Podcast with the #1 business coach in the world, Brad Sugars. To learn more about how to achieve business and personal success, as well as how to level up or listen to past episodes, visit www.bradsugars.com.